The following is an interview between myself and a user named ExposeTheBad, who has done some digging and uncovered some extremely unflattering things about Onision's military background.
For me, he was right about the one thing. I'm very black and white, and I'm a veteran myself. From the actual, in truth, I would never care about a person like Odysee. I mean, I just really wouldn't. But everything that he claims he did, everything he claims he accomplished, I actually did accomplish. So it's aggravating in a way.
Yeah, I don't blame you. I mean, I have a few friends that are veterans myself, and I've actually shown them his, what was it, Onision veteran video and all this, and they go, that is not how the Air Force works. Actually, one of my friends, he's enlisted right now as an actual, he works as like a medic, a firefighter, something like that. I haven't talked to him in a couple of years, but he used to work out at Nellis and used to work out at Creech Air Force Base in Nevada. And he just recently got his paramedic license from his time in the Air Force doing that. So, he saw it and he goes flat out, that is not how the Air Force works at all. You don't just up and get out and, No,
you don't quit.
Yeah.
And here's the bottom line. I mean, I'm going to provide everything I stated, but I'm not going to do it on my timeline because, I just don't care what other people think. Because every comment that a person makes now, they're going to change their tune once everything is already released, so it doesn't matter. However, all a person needs to do is look at what he's claiming. He's claiming he did 3 years and has an honorable discharge. That right there is bullshit.
Yeah, no, you have to be
it's
in.
Not possible.
You have to be in. Well, I've never been in the military, so I don't know how all that works. But I think you have to be in longer than that.
For your initial term, it's either 4 to 6 years. That's the bottom line. There are no 3-year enlistment programs. There's no 2 years. So anything before that equates to, it can mean several things. But in his case, it was, a bad conduct dishonorable. It was a bad conduct discharge. It was.
Really?
Yes. So that's a step up, actually, from dishonorable. But, I've been around the military my entire life. My father, retired, so I know the military, and I don't think I have ever heard of any other bad conduct discharges ever. Ever. So...
with the way you're making it sound, that sounds like it would be like one of the most severe punishments you could...
No, dishonorable is the most severe. Dishonorable is. But dishonorable is, those are guys that, there was a few when they sold drugs on base. Bad conduct is like literally, you're a piece of shit, you didn't go to jail for it. That's the most basic way I could put it to you.
Wow.
So, and, DD-214, he has a re-enlistment code of 4I. He can never, let's just say that the United States was invaded today. This is how a 4I works for an enlistment code. We were invaded today, and we were losing. He still wouldn't be able to go back in the military. That's how serious it is.
Are you serious? Wow.
Yeah, it's right on his DD-214. So,
wow.
And this is public record. It's not some fucking covertly obtained information.
Yeah, no, I kind of figured that. I just don't know how to go and obtain stuff like that myself, and I don't think a lot of the other people that run these blogs did either. And that's why nobody ever did anything like that. We just all knew that this was a nebulous thing he was talking about. Have you ever seen his website called America's Air Force?
No.
Okay, in a minute I'll go dig it up. You have to look on what's called the Wayback Machine. It's a thing on archive.org that allows you to look at cached versions of websites. He used to run a website called americasairforce.com, and it was called The Journal of an Airman. And I swear it is the most ridiculous thing I think I've ever seen. It doesn't make any sense. He's talking about going into like SEER training and all this other stuff, and I'm like,
that's another thing. There's no such thing as SEER training. SEER is a part of a training regiment. So for him to even and here, let me just make this abundantly.
Yeah, he made it sound like SEER was a. How did he make it? The way I took it is he made it sound like SEER was an offshoot of like Navy SEALs or something,
SEER is every military branch. I'll break this down completely. So
okay.
I assume you're recording this, so anybody can
Well, I'm trying to record it as best as I can. Actually, let me plug in my better speakers really quick so it'll pick up on my mic better. Because I'm just recording this because my girl also, she's wanting to go into the Air Force actually, so maybe this information will be helpful for her too.
Any questions? Sure, of course. I would. Yeah.
Yeah, she wants to go into Air Force. She wants to ultimately get into OCS. And I'm like, well, you're not fucking around. You want to go, straight forward. That's what my granddad did. He was in the OCS for, I think it was the Marines or something like that. He was in the Korean War. He doesn't talk about it much, but yeah. Anyway, you were saying. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
Alabama. It's at Maxwell Air Force Base, and she'll need a degree. Without a degree, yes.
Yeah.
That's the most important requisite or prerequisite. So I don't know if she has it or not, but she'll need that. And then you just apply. And I don't know. Since I was in the service, I don't know what their recruitment situation is now. But officers are pretty much. If you apply, you're like, unless you have a felony background, you're gonna get in. You're gonna get into training school, and from there it's up to you. But yeah, she would need a degree, then go from there.
Yeah, she's got a degree in commercial photography, so it doesn't really matter the kind of degree.
It depends on what job she's looking for. My degree, for example, is political science. And what I do for a living, it just has nothing to do with political science. So the point being is that for herself too, why I want to join the Air Force, what I would be doing, etc. So, she could sell herself.
Yeah.
It's just like anybody else. But as far as Special Forces, video that he went into Special Forces as SEER, that's literally what he says in his video. That right there is bullshit. And then he comes back later in the video and he mentions pararescue and combat control. Now, combat control, pararescue, they are the Special Forces for the Air Force. But the way he described it is incorrect. SEER is something that every Special Forces branch across the board, it's not unique to the Air Force. Every single one of them goes through it. Army Rangers, Navy SEALs, pararescue. Delta Force is kind of an add-on Special Force, so they've already gone through it. But point being is, he doesn't even know what the fuck he's talking about. He's making it sound like he went to SEER training as his special force was SEER, and that's just bullshit. That isn't the way it is.
Yeah, that's kind of what my friend who was in the Air Force that I asked about it said. He's like, it doesn't make sense. He said it's not like a little branch or division or whatever you'd call it. He said it was a training thing.
Exactly what it is. It is it's a 4 to 5 week training regiment, which is a part of a bigger package. Like for pararescue, for example, you start off at Lackland Air Force Base, right out of basic training. So you go to basic training for 6 and a half weeks, and they never tell you about that, by the way, the extra half week. But from Lackland, you stay at Lackland right after you graduate basic, and you stay there for 4 months, and it's all physical. They beat the shit out of you, basically, physically.
Yeah.
Swims.
What I heard is it's getting captured by the Taliban simulator to simulate what it's like being captured behind enemy lines or something is what I was told.
That does not happen at Lackland.
Ah, okay. Well, the SEER thing in general, that's what I was explained. It was basically like survival and evasion training, and I'm like, so...
That is correct. Yeah. SEER is. But SEER is the third part of the regiment as a whole. So you go from Lackland, and then you go to Eglin Air Force Base, which is in Florida. And from there, you go up to Washington State, Fairchild Air Force Base. And at Fairchild, that is where you go to SEER. And that is, it's a survival evasion situation.
Yeah, the guy told me that they basically just beat the shit out of you and you just take it and then learn how to escape from that situation.
It's apparently changed. Since I got it. Apparently they can't... I can't speak intelligently about what happens now because I'm not in anymore. But back 15 years ago, yes, they could beat the shit out of you. Now I have no idea. I just don't know.
Okay.
So, but I'm going to assume I'll put it to you this way. I hope that they do. mean, because if they're not doing that, then the soldiers are not being prepared correctly. So, I mean, with that being said, I'm assuming that they are still doing it to an extent, probably just waterboarding, which probably sounds awful, but that's probably just all they're doing. Something that isn't, threatening in any way, but it's serious.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, that's he claimed that. He claimed that. Claimed that he went into his claimed it was his commander's office, and he stripped. Now, as far as his records are concerned, that actually did happen. An event happened. However, it didn't happen like he claims it happened.
Really?
Yeah, I mean, he tried to get out for other reasons. He tried to get out for being a conscientious objector, meaning that, you know what that means?
Yeah, I know what that means. It basically means you won't fight. You want to be in the military, but you won't kill anybody. You won't fight.
Right. That's exactly what it means. And in his video, he claims that it had to do with a rabbit. Now, the rabbit thing, I mean, it makes me want to pull my hair out because he's just so full of shit. And I'll explain that eventually in one of my fucking marathon posts or articles, some shit down the line. But he's just full of shit. Now, but he also tried to claim he was gay. And he just, the thing is that all this is in his records. I mean, and again, it's all publicly accessed. I mean, this is not...
So, wait, so he just, randomly claimed that he was gay, thinking that would get him out? Like, that? What logic was there behind that?
I can't tell you how the conversation went because I wasn't there. All I could do is tell you what's on records. And up until, what about I think it was maybe 6 years ago, Don't Ask, Don't Tell was part of the military. So if you did tell, you were gone.
Really?
Yeah. I don't know how the administrative punishment came down on him on that. But one thing I do know is that it didn't work. So I don't know if they didn't just believe him or they didn't give a shit or what happened.
That's insane. I believe it too, because that's something he would do. I mean, the way he is on YouTube, that's something he would do, to use a cheap-ass excuse just to get out, which always has my mind boggled. It's like, why'd you bother to go in? Like, you know? Well,
there was, I don't have it in front of me, there were several, I think there was three letters for fellow troops against him. I mean, in other words, he had issues with other people as well. And he does kind of go into it a little bit in his videos, but those people, what he doesn't go into is that those people, they wrote reports on him and went to their, I assume their first sergeant, because that's usually, or their supervisor or first sergeant, whoever was in their chain of command. But they had issues with him, and they reported him, and more than once. And you haven't been in the service, but let me tell you, that's rare. I mean, for one person, let alone that many, to just do that is fucking rare.
Yeah, it's rare for somebody to do that at any normal workplace, even, really.
Unless the person is doing something that they shouldn't be doing.
What was it that they were reporting on him? I mean, like, what did they have to say about him? Like, was he just causing issues with people, like, all the time, like he just usually does?
There was confrontational issues. But this is complete speculation, reading through the lines on what somebody else said, but I think it had to do with fights, starting fights. I don't know what it consisted of, and I'm not going to pretend like I do to sound cool. All I know is that it was just confrontational in nature.
Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, because that's kind of how he is with people. He puts this persona on YouTube of being like this, like, I don't even know, this floaty, weird sort of new agey kind of dude. I don't even know how you explain his personality. But whenever you get into a debate with a guy, and I did that once, he is a very confrontational asshole. So I can buy that.
Well, yeah, I don't know I will know the specifics. There's zero doubt about that, and I will release everything. Again, no issue with that. Anybody can order it. That's just...
Yeah, they're getting impatient about that, and the thing is, they don't understand that a fucking FOIA takes a while. I mean, I've heard of somebody FOIAing information, and it took them nearly like 6 months to get it.
It's not going to take that long. I mean, in truth, I've been dealing with...
Depending on what it is. I mean, a guy was doing like a book about like missing persons and stuff like that, and sometimes the reports would take forever to get back to him, you know.
Yeah. Well, mean, they have to confirm that you are who you say you are, and you're asking for a legitimate purpose. I mean, they can't just.
Yeah.
And they also, the most important thing, and the reason it takes so long is that they have to redact certain information. I mean, they can't give me his social security number.
Yeah.
They can't give me, his public address and stuff. They have to actually go in there and redact shit.
Some of the people on some of these blogs actually did that for him. Somebody found out where he's living. He has like not $100,000. He's like an $800,000 house in Washington. Jeez.
He's been doing the YouTube thing.
Yeah.
For a while, right?
Yeah.
I don't know how much, one thing I do know is that fellow servicemen like myself are well aware of this issue now, because I wasn't kidding. I mean, I don't give a shit what anybody says or thinks, so I will follow through on what I say, and I went to 2 very popular sites about him. I mean, and in many ways, if you really think about it, he has financially benefited from these statements. I mean, he has. He claimed he's an honorably discharged veteran. He makes videos. He makes money off the videos. That is technically the definition of the stolen valor statutes. I mean, it is.
Yeah. And isn't that illegal?
It's a federal. Yeah, it's illegal. It's a federal crime.
It's a felony then.
It's very bad. Yeah.
Shit. Well, he's fucked. Because I don't take lightly to that shit either. Like I said, my granddad is a vet. I got plenty of friends that are veterans. I got plenty of friends that are enlisted. And I mean, it's not an easy job that you guys do. So for people to just sit there and pretend that there's something that they're not, and especially in a job that entails exactly what it is that being in the military does, I mean, that is like the shittiest thing a human being can fucking do. It just pisses me off when you see that,
How many people do that? I mean, Onision is truly a dime a dozen when it comes to that. I mean, I guarantee you that every single person has met somebody who's been a poser about the military in their life. I mean, every single person in the world. There's always some shit ass that just, wants to embellish or whatever the fuck they want to do. And more often than not, in my experience, they're guys that actually served. I mean, they're guys that were in the military. They got kicked out for some reason. Yeah. They're not just guys that are just random off the street dudes. I mean, these people go into the service, they get kicked out for whatever reason, and then they come out and they get tatted up, with some special forces bullshit.
Yeah, no, I've actually met one of those types, but it was rare that you ever meet one of those kind of people, and it's even rarer, I think, because the guy was never even in. He was pretending to be some kind of like former buds or something like that.
Those guys are fun. Yeah, there's a guy named Don Shipley on the internet who is actually a former SEAL, and he fucks those guys up. I mean, he tracks them down, he contacts them, and just exposes he embarrasses the shit out of them.
Yeah, I should fucking hook him up with the information of the guy I used to know then, because I thought I was really fucked when I found out he was lying.
Did he claim he was a SEAL?
You said he was a SEAL, and then he said he worked in Rangers, and then he said he did some special. His story was never consistent, so I'm like, well, what did you do? Well, I spent a few years here and there, and I'm like, dude, I have a feeling that the only fucking years you spent anywhere were like in jail, and you came up with this bullshit so people wouldn't find that out.
Yeah, I mean, there are people like that as well. They just want to toot their own shit horn. But if he claimed he was a SEAL, yeah, you should go to his name is Don Shipley. He's very popular.
I'll look him up.
And because he only deals with fraud SEALs. So if this guy's claiming he was a SEAL, and Don is a cool guy. I mean, he'll get back with you, and he'll tell you no if he's not interested in it or if he doesn't have enough information. But I mean, the list of these people, SEALs for example. I mean, those guys are seriously badass, and the list of them, there's probably only like 400 living SEALs.
Really?
So, yeah, I mean, there's not that many of them. So for a person to claim they're a SEAL, they're full of shit. I mean, they could be. I mean, there's a chance. But
do you believe that Jesse Ventura was one?
Jesse Ventura was not a Navy SEAL, but he was what was considered a Navy SEAL before the Navy SEALs came to be. So he's actually telling the truth. He was, I think they called it, I'm not so familiar with the Navy, but they called it something like excursion or something. I forgot what it was called. But anyway, Jesse Ventura is telling the truth. Believe it or not. He isn't a Navy SEAL, no, but he was the equivalent of a Navy SEAL before the Navy SEALs were established. That is true. Yeah.
That's pretty interesting. So those guys then had like no reason to try to beat the shit out of him at all.
I don't know. I didn't even know that happened.
Basically, he was at a bar, and that's where the accusation that he wasn't a Navy SEAL came out. But these guys were at a bar that he was at, and they started yelling at him, saying that he wasn't a SEAL. And one of them tried to beat the shit out of him. And I'm like, you realize this guy is telling the truth? I always thought he was, and he used to be a wrestler, you know. So I don't know how far you thought y'all were gonna get. You know, he sued him over it too. He sued him all over it.
He's kind of a situation. I mean, technically he isn't because he never wore the SEAL patch, but technically he is because he is what was considered to be a Navy SEAL before they were Navy SEAls. So I mean, he's kind of that middle ground. I mean, if Jesse Ventura was in the service when Navy SEAls were active, and he would have been a Navy SEAL because what he was became that. But as far as Onision, Onision was a security policeman. And that was his guaranteed job, and that's what he was. So you see him in one of his videos wearing his blue beret. Well, that is the blue beret of the security police department on base. Just a base cop. I mean, that's all it is. A lot of my friends when I were in were base cops. And actually, now that I think about it, no wonder they didn't put up with this shit. Base cops are typically the biggest partiers on the base. I mean, those guys work their fucking asses. Those guys work 12 to 14-hour shifts, 4 days straight, and then they have 3 days off. Those guys work hard.
Jeez.
So a guy like Onision coming in and then being barracked up or next to him, they probably wanted him like really far away from them.
Yeah, I don't think I could put up with a shift that long and then spend time, no matter what the job was, with somebody like that on my days off.
Yeah. In the military, you'll meet people like, you know, your wife. You said.
My fiance, she wants to go into the Air Force. She was hoping to get stationed in Yokosuka base or something like that in Japan, but I was trying to tell her, honey, the military stations you. I mean, maybe it's different for an officer, but you don't get to pick where you go.
Yeah, I mean, I picked.
Oh, you do?
All East Coast, and I ended up in Utah. So, I mean...
I guess maybe after a certain point they'll let you, but I know that right off the bat you don't have a single choice in the matter. If they want you to go to the sandbox, they will send you straight to the sandbox.
It depends on your job. It depends on your job. Now, Onision's job, security police, they did go to the desert often. I mean, they rotated, and I think he claims one of the Korean bases, Osan or Kunsan. I think it's Kunsan. That is normal. And security police also rotate there. What they do is they send them there for a year, and when the year is up, then the airman, him in this case, would have been able to pick wherever he wanted to go.
Yeah.
Base. So, but he never got that far.
Speaking of, I sent you in the chat thing here on Skype. You'll probably be able to look it up. I think you're on a phone right now, it sounds like. But if you, if you get back to a computer, check out the link I sent you. It's a web archive thing of his old like military diary site that he made. You might have a lot of fun with that.
Yeah, I appreciate that because I haven't seen that yet. I try to keep it simple with him, but yeah, that would definitely make me laugh probably a lot more. But you know,
well, the thing with Onision is he like catalogs everything that he does. He always does, and doesn't make any sense. He puts his entire life on the internet, and no matter what he's talking about, he will document every stupid little thing that he does, and that's what he did with this in the Air Force, and it makes even less sense than his videos.
Yeah, well, that day, you know, I mean, I'm going to follow through on what I said, and you know, and whatever the people who actually now have or will have the information, they could do it whatever they want to do with it. So
yeah, speaking of that,
he's not a scary guy. I read some of these statements about him threatening or him trying to he's
a wuss. What he does is he copies things from people and he makes little vague threats. That's all he's got. He's a fucking pussy.
So I mean, and you know, his money situation, none of that shit in any way concerns me. So I'm sure that he's gonna fucking rain his trumpet and try to huff and puff, but it's not gonna change a goddamn thing. It's not. I mean, he could try, and it's not gonna change anything. He
threatened to sue me once and never followed through with that, and that was in like 2008, and I'm still waiting.
So you've had an issue with him for a while then, I guess.
Yeah, I had a big issue with what he did on YouTube. What he did on YouTube is he used to do these stupid guru and advice videos and direct them towards a really young teenage audience, and he had no care that the advice he was giving them was very dangerous to be giving to kids. You know, he thought he knew more about, you know, like...
And I was interested in this. Not...
Oh, you cut out there for a minute. Your phone cut out. Yeah, I can hear you now. Your phone cut out for a minute.
That's exactly what kind of made me look at this issue twice. Is that, I mean, his core group. I mean, I have the ability to look at all the analytics and look at who's looking at him and look at all of his fucking extra dummy accounts, which, by the way, are considerable, and I plan to release that too.
Oh, no shit. He really was using dummy accounts and sock accounts?
I can't say about today. I can't say. But...
That would make so much sense for all the trolling I've received, like, in all those videos I did from some of the shit from way back. Not anything now, but a few years back. I had a feeling he was doing that.
I can't... What I'm saying about today is I can't say about today, but I'm not saying it's a yes or a no. I'm just saying that I can't say about today. I mean, I'm being literal.
That's fine.
So, he... You know, all these things... And long story short, his base audience... is 13 to 16-year-old females. I mean, that is his base for the most part. I mean, over 70% of his users are for that range. So, I mean, when I was originally looking at it, part of me didn't give a shit. And then I looked at the military aspect, and then I gave a shit. And then I saw that this fraudulent fucking poser, who's, how old is he? He's like 30, isn't he?
Yeah, he's 30 years old. He's 3 years older than me.
This fraudulent poser, 30-year-old grown fucking man who acts like a fucking 15-year-old teenage chick who just finally got on her period is actually conversing with fucking girls that are underage. And it was just, fuck, man, it hit me as, fuck, what do I do? You know what I mean? I mean, I don't like the military aspect, and I plan to go forward with this anyway, but at the same time, I think I kind of have to.
Yeah.
Because of his connection with this, especially after reading... You know, some of those complaints. I mean, he's not. I don't know. I'll say everything when I need to say it all at once. But the bottom line is that he has a lot in his closet.
Yeah, the Article 15 thing was what surprised me, especially when you said about the nature of it. You know, I mean, that just seemed really fucked up. That he went after like some what is it, superior's daughters or some shit.
It was not a superior. I could understand how that would be confused. It was a superior in rank, but not in a direct chain of command line. So it was just another person on base and their kid. Now, I don't know the specifics about that. All I know is the incident report. So I don't know, you know, I don't know why he reported it. I don't know when, you know, I don't know. Oh, I do know when, but I don't know the specifics between him and the complainant. So. Complainant, but that could be remedied. I mean, that is actually what I'm waiting on, a few of those things, to be honest with you. When it comes to administrative punishment, you have to explain why you're asking for administrative punishment. A DD 214 and sir.
Nope, you cut.
I am not in the case of Odysee. He's not.
You cut out again.
Okay, sorry about that.
Yeah.
I'm trying to get errands done while I'm talking to you.
That's okay.
Here it is. But, where was I? Certain administrative punishments, you have to give a reason why you're asking for them. I mean, you can't just... now, a lot of the times employers can come out and say, we're just doing a background check. I am not, you know, an employer to Odysee, so I can't ask that. So I had to go a different route. And, you know, when that goes through, and it will... I'll be able to put the full picture together with, sorry, I thought I cut out there too. I'll be able to put the full picture together with what I already have. And it's a very easy fucking set of dots to connect. I mean, this is a very simple issue. I mean, it's very simple.
Yeah, I mean, from everything that you said in that thread, I mean, a lot of people were skeptical because they're just really impatient, really.
You know, and I respect that. I mean, we live in an age when people can get things, you know, with a few clicks. I get that. I have no issue about that. I get it. I mean, it doesn't affect me in any way. Release when I want to release, and when that happens, like I said earlier, they'll change their tune and everything will be fine. But this isn't the first time something like this I've dealt with something like this, so I have no issue with that.
So what he did implies, because he was married at the time, then what he did implies that he was willingly cheating on his wife, which is something he recently did again, like the start of this year.
Adultery in the military is kind of a red herring. It's often not reported.
Yeah.
It used to be an offense that would be reported and you could get kicked out for it. Now it's not. So frankly, I don't know if he was married or not. If you know,
no, he was. He was factually he was married at that time, because even on the website, the link that I sent you, he'll talk about, he's like he starts the blog around the time he was first getting married, and then by the midpoint, like around when he was really talking about being in the military, about 2006, early 2007, he was full on married. He'd already gone through with it and everything. So what it was that you talk about there, basically he was cheating on his fucking wife in doing that. Then,
well, there is one thing. I mean, to be fair, if there was contact with an underage individual, he would be in jail.
Yeah.
So I want to just, I mean, to be fair.
Well, he kind of skirts by that, though, all the time, even now, though. That's the fucked up part. He always does. Like, when he got with his wife that he's married to now, he was, like, 27 and she was 17 years old. And he's like, well, is that underage? Well, a little bit. It's a little wrong. And then the girl he was with before that was, like, 16 years old when he met her on his forums online. That's how he met her there.
Yeah, well, a lot of those...
He's got a pattern doing that, basically.
Yeah, I mean, what I will say, I mean, if there were, let me put it to you, if there was proof that he hooked up with an underager, he would have been in jail. So as far as the records go, I mean, I'm not going to say, I don't like the guy, but I'm not going to lie and say, and try to make myself seem important in this. I mean, however, it doesn't mean that it didn't happen, but what it means is that nothing was ever proven of it happening. And until I have specific report in hand and read them, I don't, all I know is that there was a complaint. That's really that's the beginning and end of it. Until I read the complaint, I can't. But logically speaking, minor, he would be in jail. I mean, the military is so, regardless of what these modern fem retards try to claim, the military is so harsh on that shit. Because in the military, you're guilty until the UCMJ is way different than as a civilian. You literally are guilty until proven innocent, and you have to prove your innocence. So, yeah, I mean, if he did any of that, he would have been in fucking jail. However, he did receive the bad conduct discharge. So, this is complete speculation. The only thing I think about is maybe the complaint couldn't be proven. Maybe he found a way or things. They knew he was guilty. They couldn't prove it, so they just got him the fuck out of Dodge.
That more, yeah. I mean, that makes sense. And I know that's speculation. And honestly, you're going about this with a very level head, which I can really respect. Because a lot of people will make assumptions and they'll just jump to conclusions, which has made this whole deal with him kind of a hard thing to get people to take seriously, because they just make assumptions just left and right. They don't. I've even been guilty of that too. It's when you deal with the behavior of somebody like this, you start noticing what they're doing, but you can't prove it because they're fucked up enough to hide all the hard evidence that you need. So.
Right. I mean, and it's not my responsibility to against him. I'm not. All I'm doing is reporting facts that I know. So if I were to sit here and say, I can't speculate, sure, but I'm not going to say something as a fact unless I'm positive that it is. One thing I'm positive as a fact is that he was kicked out. Positive on the other. Actually, I'm positive on all the other fucking things I said. I am not, however, yet. Let me also say yet, because I will get those fucking records. They've already been approved. I have the DD-214. I have the administrative punishment for the discharge. I do not have the complaint reports. They've been approved. I will get them. When that happens, I will release everything at once, because I don't like releasing things one thing at a time. So
you wouldn't want to do that with Onision because he's one of these people that has an excuse for everything. If you release, when I found out he was trying to come up with his own batshit crazy religion thing on his old website, and yeah, that was a thing that happened. I released it, one part after the other, and he was able to kind of shoot it down and get his stupid fan base to not really take what I'd said all that seriously. Now, like a shitload of people did, and it put a big dent in his online, whatever you even want to call it, but he was able to kind of just make it a moot point. He's really good with that. But if you release all this at once, then there's no fucking around. There's nothing that can be done.
Well, that's how I go about things. I'm going to, it's going to be, like I said earlier, an incontrovertible situation where nobody can deny anything.
Yeah.
Where if they, it's going to counter every counter. That's how I like to go about my business when I do these things. And to be honest, I'm sitting here talking to you about military stuff. What Onision does not know is that there's two other things that are connected to this that have nothing to do with the military. So if he thinks that it's military, then he's wrong. And I have no issue with that. And actually, I alluded to one earlier about specific IPs and such. It's fine. I mean, so he can try to weasel whatever the fuck he wants. I mean.
Oh, really? What I mean, I'm recording this, but if there's anything you want me to take out.
No, edit it out. It's fine. I already said. Hey, I stand behind everything I say.
Okay.
I'm not telling you exactly what it is, but.
Well, that's what I mean. I mean, if there's anything you want me to take out, so you can just, talk here, just let me know. Because I might have to edit the beginning of this anyway, because it was people probably couldn't even hear it.
The third thing is the most important thing anyway. Well, no, I like I said, I stand behind everything I say. I wouldn't say it unless I meant to say it.
Yeah.
So he can know whatever he wants to know. At this point, it won't matter. It just at this moment, it's too late anyway. I mean, it's just the records are already on several fronts on top of the military. It doesn't matter what he does and what he claims. That's why I asked that guy online earlier if he was.
No, he's just a stupid troll. He was going basically between that board and another one, and like I said, he was just replying to himself. People don't like how I used to do my videos, and then they have some fucking bug up their ass about it, and they don't have anything else to go on other than the fact that somebody saw a video of a really fucked up argument my girl and I had over Skype a while ago, and they just harp on it forever. Oh, see, we got dirt on you now. And I'm like, well, whoopee. People fight. Get the fuck over it. I'm not the one who's sitting here. What? Yeah, I'm still with her. Yeah, we're still.
Who gives a shit?
Yeah, exactly. That's what I said. And that's what I told these fuckers, but they just don't fucking listen to it. They're just.
It doesn't matter.
Yeah. And I don't get.
Seriously, it doesn't matter.
Yeah, I don't give a fuck what they're saying, but I just think it's funny that they keep running it for so long. I'm like, you got anything else? No? Okay, then shut the fuck up. It's none of your business, assholes.
Well, most people that are going to connect themselves to Onision and defend him, and I'm not saying that this is the case with the individual earlier, I'm really not.
Yeah.
I was actually asking that as a courtesy to him, because I was going to do him a favor if he was Onision. I mean, truly, I really was. But, since he wasn't, then fuck him.
Yeah.
But anybody who's connected to him and defends his shit, I mean, there's
a lot of the admins that used to defend him.
Better say there can't have any that are intellectual.
No, because a lot of them are just teenagers, and a lot of the admins on his old website and his new forums even that used to defend him really hard were still a little bit younger than him, or just not bright enough to see what it is that he's doing. He's just trying to sell his own ideologies and his own bullshit. I mean, honestly, he's released 2 books. They're just fictional novels, but one of them really tries to detail what he did in the military. And I mean, if this is honestly what the fuck he was getting up to, I'll send you a link to it later. If you're still.
I know about the books.
Okay.
I did.
You saw that girl's reading of them then?
I did not see the girl's reading of them. No.
Oh, I'll send you links to that then, because holy shit.
What do I say, really? I mean, Onision, I will, to be fair, I'll give him credit. The guy, knows how to run to be honest, I don't really know much about how people even go about doing that shit. But he knows how to, I guess, bring people in and they're fucking for his site. Good for him. But it works two ways. The scene works two ways. You can't put yourself out there and claim these things if the information to prove that you're a liar is out there.
Yeah.
You just can't do that. And you especially can't do it when you're dealing with issues that have literally affected lives. I mean, people have died. So when you're claiming to be something that you're not, when that people, especially today's Memorial Day, I know that has nothing to do with he's been doing this for years, but this is the day that we remember the people that he claimed he was. So fuck him. I mean, seriously.
No, trust me, it is Memorial Day. He's probably on his Twitter bitching about the military. It's all he does. It's what he does on certain days. He just bitches about things that have things to do with it. Like, if it's Christmas, he'll bitch about, like, Christianity for some stupid reason. Or if it's Memorial Day, he'll bitch about the military. And not, like, one or two tweets. Like, for hours. Just, he'll go on for, like, hours at a time.
I knew guys like Odysee when I was in. I mean, and honestly, they were just, he just knew from, how did my father used to put it? There's always before I went in, he said something like, you'll run into some people that will not make it, that, you'll be able to tell right away, and they'll try to either bring you down or they'll cause trouble. Just stay away from them. And when I was in, I mean, when my father told me that, I didn't give a shit because I knew everything, right? When I got in, he was 100% correct. There are people like that. So, long story short, I've met idiots like Odysee before in the service who claimed this and claimed.
Yep.
Words, but fuck, man. I mean,
your call dropped out there again for a moment.
Where did it?
You were talking about, your father used to tell you this and that.
Yeah, when I was in the service.
Yeah, you were talking about that.
Well, most of those guys, when I was in the service, they did it just because they were lonely and they wanted to try to get fucking teen pussy. But they always got fucked. I mean, every time they got fucked over. Let me say that.
Yeah.
They got fucked and then they got fucked over. But yeah, man, he's
How long were you?
Sorry, go ahead.
How long were you in the military, if you don't mind me asking?
I was in for 4 years.
Oh wow. And you were Air Force again, you said?
Yes.
Ah, cool. Cool. So, yeah, you definitely do know then, what you're talking about and how to do all this.
Yeah, I am an honorably discharged veteran. So, yeah, I do know. And everything he claims he was, he wasn't. So, like I said, I've met people like Odysee when I was in the service, and he's just... You talk to anybody who actually was in the service, this isn't just me. I mean, if you have friends that were in the service and just ask them, they've met people like him too. I mean, those people were never taken seriously. And then all of a sudden they would have these fucking early tantrums, and then the next day they'd be on detail duty mowing lawns on base, and then a week later they'd be off the base. It happened to a lot of people, and he's just one of those failures. He's a failure. I mean, there's no other way to put it. He couldn't hack it. He's a failure.
He's never had any other job besides YouTube as well after getting out of the military. So, I mean, that's kind of one of that alone was one of the reasons why I believed what you had to say. Because when you put it in your post and said that this implies he can't really get any job now, he's like totally fucked because this is in his record. I'm like, well, that explains why he's never done anything other than YouTube.
Because that kind of let him know. That kind of let him know that I was looking at everything, but fuck, it doesn't matter. He's a failure, dude. I mean, like, you've met him 100 times. You've not met him, but you've met people like that 100 times in your life. People with no actual accomplishments under their belt. I mean, if you were to talk to an Odysee, what the fuck accomplishment does he have? I mean, what could he say?
He would probably tell you, I put a banana costume on and acted like a moron for 3.5 minutes, and it got 82 million views. That's what he would tell you.
And that's like, I mean, the guy's done nothing. The guy has absolutely not a single achievement behind him. Nothing. He has done nothing. So, of course, he's going to sit.
Oh, he cheated on his wife. He did that.
He wants to count that as an achievement. More the power to him, man. I got to run. I have to take care of some family stuff. But, I hope that clears up some things for you.
Yeah, not a problem, dude. It really did, actually. Because even I was a little worried. Because when people come to these things and they say what you've said and they claim what you've claimed, a lot of the time they're just bullshitting and you never hear from them again. So for you to actually follow through with this was a little surprising, but I'm glad that you did. Because most people that they claim these sort of things that they're doing, they never follow through with them, and it just becomes a dead end.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. I don't really follow a lot of the things that were being said. I don't know what the fucking edgy Edgy Lord is, or where the fuck that
Somebody that's trying too hard to come off as hardcore. They think that I try too hard to act tough or try too hard to come, off as a tough ass. And I'm like, yeah, I'm going to take that from a guy who's using Richard Ramirez as his fucking picture. You're calling me trying too hard to be hardcore, and you're using a fucking serial killer as your picture. Nice work.
Well, just remember that a lot of these people, not speaking about him specifically, the Ramirez poster, but a lot of these people with these personalities, they can't help themselves. So they always sink themselves more because they always try to get involved in finding out information. They always fuck themselves over more. He's no different. He doesn't know it yet, but he's no different.
Yeah.
And it's just the same song and dance I've seen and dealt with for a long time now. So he's nothing to worry about at all. But I truly do have to go, and I if you ever actually, when everything comes in, and it's not going to be 6 months. At most, it would be the end of I was thinking the end of this week, to be honest with you. But it's going to be soon. But I'll go over everything on your show, piece by piece, if you want. I can't tell you the exact date it's going to happen. But when it happens, I have no issue going over everything with you.
Yeah, I think I could actually do that. I mean, on my YouTube, I haven't talked about him in a long time, but I think I'll make special exceptions since this is an actual serious fucking stuff that he's done.
Yeah, I have no issue with that, and I'll show up physically as well. Onision is nothing to be worried about, so I have no issue with him. And Onision was in the service. One last thing, he was in the service. He did.
Oh, your call dropped out again.
No, point blank that I know. Sorry.
Your call dropped out, right? Yeah, your call dropped out when you said he was in the service.
He was in the service, and the point is, what I'm saying here, he's going to know that I was in the service too, and I know what I'm talking about, and he's going to know I'm not full of shit. Because he was in the service, and he knows when a person's full of shit or not. He does. He served it, he was in the Air Force. He has basic knowledge of it, so he knows. So he can do whatever the fuck he wants to do. I don't really care.
Yeah.
Truly. Hey, man, pleasure talking to you.
Yeah, same here. All right, you take care. Bye. So, same person, huh? What'd I fucking tell you?